Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish.
I'm going to tell you why we're going to talk about this, because the truth about changing is exactly what we're talking about today. I've got a quote for you. James Baldwin said, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be faced until nothing can be changed until it is faced." And this is the reason why. The thing that made me think about this was a big aha, was that staying the same protects you from having to see where you are. Did that shake you up a little bit? It sure shook me up when I was reading about this. Staying the same protects you from seeing where you are. Because oftentimes, while the truth can set you free, oftentimes we're saying, okay, I'll look everywhere except over there. Here I am. Look at me. I'm looking at everything. And if you look at, think of things as in a 360-degree circle, we're looking at 350 degrees. 350 degrees. So what if we're protecting ourselves from having to go to the darkest part? Because it's hard and it's scary and it's full of all kinds of gremlins from the past. But if we're going to stay the same, and because that's going to protect us from having to see where we are, then we're not living our whole truth, are we? This to me is right alongside the same aha that I had when I finally stopped just criticizing myself so severely about what I looked like and just being all about, well, oh my gosh, if only kind of a thing about, being a skinny girl, all that garbage. When I finally recognized that it's not all about just the one thing, but it's about the whole person and not one thing, then it set me free from this carousel of crazy. It got me off the carousel of crazy. And I started to focus instead on being healthy and vibrant, because that's what I wanted, that kind of a connection with others and in relationships and all of it. You can't have that. You can't have any of that until you recognize that it's not about the parts, it's about the whole. When you look at a chair, you don't see a chair rail and this is a leg and this is a back. You see a chair. You see a whole chair. It's not about one part of the chair. It's about the chair. That's what you see. This is how we see our lives. And when we can see things as a whole, we can start to see the parts after. Do you get me on that? Does that make sense to you? So oftentimes, though, when we're scared to look at what needs changing or whatever, we can have hints of what it is that's the problem, right? We can have hints on what's the problem. So how do you know if you need to change or there's something in your life that needs changing? I've got 10 things, and then I've got 10 things that will help you to get to this place of not being so fearful about actually seeing, Number 1, something's not right and you can't put your finger on it. Ever feel that way? You just wait. I'm just like, I don't even know what's what. Hi, John Lynn. What is it? What's going on? Why am I can't, you're not feeling bad per se, but you're not feeling great either. And you're just kind of feeling like it's just kind of icky. You know what I mean? Because life is meant to be felt, the bad times and the good times, and experienced in such a way. But if you're feeling like there's just like something's just not right, like you meet somebody who's a little sketchy and you're going, yeah, something's a little snake oily about this guy. or whatever, then that's something to pay attention to, because that's a flag saying, hey, pay attention. Number two, something's not right, or number one is something's not right and you can't put a finger on it. Number two, you can numb out or behave in a way that's a numbing out way. That behaviorally, that's what you do. That's just, go grab the wine, or go smoke a cigarette, or eat, food addicts unite kind of a thing. But we do this in order to avoid. It's an avoidance tactic. We don't have to look if we're numb, do we? We don't have to feel if we're numb. Okay. Number three, you've given up, thrown in the towel. Well, this is just the way it's going to be, I remember that at a point in my life where, I was in tears. Nothing worked. I didn't recognize and realize what was really going on. I mean, when you're in that place of giving up and throwing down the towel, just saying, well, I guess I'm just going to be X, Y, and Z, or I'm always going to be like whatever. That's when you know that there's something not right. You haven't dug a little, you have to go digging a little deeper. We're all archaeologists when it comes to our lives. Sometimes we need that one artifact to make a complete picture. Where does that come from? What is this about? When you give up, that means that you're saying my life isn't worth pursuing. The vibrancy that I want in my life isn't worth pursuing. And you know what happens when we do that? When we do that, we go to all kinds of behaviors that we wouldn't have done otherwise, because we value ourselves too much, or at least try to break old habits or try to whatever. But we see ourselves in a completely different life when we've given up. And it is so low vibe. It is. Number four, relationship wise, get this one. It's stuck. Maybe it's completely dull, no connection. Or maybe you're just completely unhappy. Maybe you've never had a voice in your relationship. Maybe, I don't know. But as you look at you hear somebody say, oh, we have a vibrant, loving, amazing relationship or marriage or whatever. And you're thinking to yourself, well, mine is like, that's a sign. Number five, you're okay with a toxic environment. You know what toxic environments are? Anything that causes inflammation of choice, an inflamed environment. For example, you know what I did first thing Sunday morning when we got up? Well, first of all, Mark made breakfast. There's always that Sunday morning breakfast. I always really look forward to, because it's the morning that here come the eggs, here's some bacon, yum, yum. But I scoured this house, scoured it. Got I had my notes everywhere and all over the place, because I'm a crazy lady when I'm putting together Full Bloom, because it's a lot. I had the dining room, I had the coffee table, I had my office, I had the ping pong table, notes everywhere, books everywhere. So I gathered it all up. I cleaned it up. I changed the sheets. I vacuumed. I dusted. I did everything. I cleaned the grates on the oven. You know why I did all of that? Cleanup is important, because a clean environment helps to clean up my thinking. I am easily distractible, ADD right here, ADHD or whatever you want to call it. I am so if I'm looking at all this mess and it's not getting cleaned up, I'm feeling bad. I'm thinking, well, I need to do this and I should be doing that. My focus changes, because my environment at that point for me is toxic. Clutter everywhere, get it fixed. Make your bed, clean up your kitchen, do all these, put something decent on, change your clothes, take a shower, exercise, all these things, absolutely imperative to clean up that toxic environment. Toxic environment could be opening up a cupboard and taking a look at all the crap that's in your pantry. Whatever it is, if that toxicity has a way of oozing into your life and disrupting you. You get to decide what's toxic, by the way. You do. For me, a toxic environment means everything's in disarray. Everything. Mark went out and we were like in full. So get this. This is the energy level that we had. cleaning everything up. He's out in the garage. He's blowing the leaves. He's doing all the things. Clean up, clean up, clean up. We both were just a massive cleanup. Then we went over and helped Carolyn and Sam move in. Came home. Believe me, we flopped like around 9:30 that night. We were exhausted. But cleaning up a toxic environment, whether it's literally or figuratively, is imperative. Number 6, compulsive addictive behavior. Whether you've already handled that or not, usually comes out again if things aren't what they need to be. Number 7 is you go into survival mode. You get up, you feed the dog, you take him for a walk, and you turn on TV. You eat dinner in front of the TV or not. You know, you're either eating too much, eating too little, want to sleep and nap all the time. Survival mode. There's no vibrancy there, survival mode. Number 8 is you have this low vibe. Well, maybe, I don't know. This is how you're talking. Let me ask you, can you hear energy in a voice? I can. Can you hear energy? Can you feel the vibe of somebody who comes in there bouncing in like Tigger and excited about life and excited about everything? There's a whole different thing than somebody who's just like low energy, low, I don't know, I guess. You can feel that right there, right? I mean, just so completely opposite. That is folks who are in a place where it's just like things are just all the color of oatmeal. You know, there's no vibrancy or color in their lives. Number 9 is living in the past or romanticizing about what could have been or what might have been had you only made a different choice. Maybe with a spouse. Maybe it's your high school sweetheart. What if I had hooked, you know, if I had done that with him, everything would have been different. Oh, we would have had all this wonderful things. And that's really convenient, isn't it? It's convenient to drop into that kind of a mindset because it takes you out of your current situation. You don't have to deal with it. Number 10 is asking yourself, is this all there is? Or isn't there more to life than this? There is a song, Peggy Lee sang it many, many years ago. Is that all there is? And if you hear the song, you think, oh, then let's keep dancing. You know, I mean, this part, is that all there is? And Peggy Lee is very, you know, sexy and like low voice and, you know, smoky, sultry 60s, thinking all of that, those terms. Is that all there is? And but if you read the lyrics, I'm going to tell you right now, those are depressing lyrics. Here's part of the chorus. Is that all there is? Is that all there is? If that's all there is, my friends, then let's keep dancing. Let's break out the booze and have a ball, if that's all there is. I mean, I read that and I was just like, oh, Peggy Lee, not a good life. But, you know, this is part of that acceptance, right? Of just the mundane, not looking for the vibrancy and the beauty, not being on that path, not being a bridge builder, all the things that we've talked about. And that's also a big red flag in your life that you need to start shaking things up. You need some change in your life. You need to start finding that vibrancy again, because that's what it is. So how do you fix it, right? I mean, what is the fix to all of this? If this is what's going on, it's symptomatic. It's sort of like, you know what a symptom is to giving birth? Labor. You break your water. You know, you're starting to hurt. You feel a baby's head. Those are symptoms of, impending birth. Well, this is all symptoms of a doomsday attitude. Could be depression, could be a lot of things going on, but that change is a necessary part. And maybe you're just not wanting to look. You're not wanting to look because you have this fear of looking, you know? That quote that I gave you back, or staying the same protects you from seeing where you are. Are you happy with where you are in life? And I'm going to make a case that we all should, I'm not saying be unhappy, but we should all be anticipating our next level of growth, because we're here to evolve and to become. We don't arrive ever until it's time for us to go to glory. That's where we'll see perfect, by the way, not here, not in this lifetime, but that's where we'll see glory. But if you're feeling like this, just that, it's a loud call. It's time to fix it. So how do you fix it? Here you go. I'm going to give it to you. And I want you to, if you are taking notes too, write these two words down: process and progress. Those two things go hand in hand. And sometimes the process is easier than seeing the progress. But if you hold on, you'll get there. Okay? It's the truth. If you hold on, they'll get there. We didn't get there overnight to this place of just absolute, maybe not despair, but just like, yeah, meh, that's my life, really? So let's have some respect and honor the process by simply following some simple steps. Number one is to meditate, to pray, and to journal. Those three things are central to feeding your beautiful self. You can't feed your soul if you're not paying attention to it. This is how you pay attention to it. It's also how you align with God, and it's how you communicate and you look to Him instead of, all the garbage of the world, including food addiction and all the rest of it. This is what we do. Instead of doing these things because we think they're hard or whatever it is, am I doing this right? Instead of doing these things, we default to our old habits. I'm just going to, open a bag of cookies and just go for it. Turn on Netflix. Now we're talking. And for the first 10 minutes, it feels great. And then all of a sudden it's just like, man, this is counterfeit. This is counterfeit. This does not fulfill me. This does not make a good life. 2, see a doctor. You might also be depressed. You need to deal with your depression. It could be also hormones being just completely out of whack. I had a talk with my doctor today. My thyroid's just a little low. Too low, which is really, my TSH is just a little too low. But guess what? We can fix that. And I'm going to have a conversation with Alan a little bit later about that and just bringing down my thyroid medication because there's just a little too much. You also might have some vitamin deficiencies. I'll talk about those in a minute. And this is what the other thing is: up your supplements. Your vitamin D level. Do you know what your vitamin D level is? You want to have it up above 35. That's just bare minimum. Really, if you're more like at 45, 65 IUs, that's better, because that's letting you know that, vitamin D is very integral to not only your immune system, but how you feel about yourself. Your vitamin D levels are low, you're going to be depressed. Also, B complex. Now, understand about B complex. It's one of the reasons it's a core 4. You need the whole spectrum. There's certain Bs that really play in, like a B6 and a B12, but they work better together. Remember this. When you're about to take one of these or one of those, when you take a B complex, it's like listening to a full orchestra as opposed to having a tuba solo. Okay? You're going to get the same music, but I'm going to tell you, you're going to prefer to hear the full orchestra than just a tuba. This is how it is. And same with your body. Your body wants the full spectrum. And that's why we do B complex. B complexes are also water soluble. Therefore, it needs to be taken on a daily basis. Let it do its thing. It also buffers a lot of the stress. It buffers the depression. And I'm absolutely convinced that there's a whole lot of autoimmune deficiencies, diseases out there because of B12 deficiency and, other things, and leaky gut and all of that. Sleep, underrated, underperformed, etc. And when you get your Carousel of Crazy book, the sleep chapter will blow you away. All right. That's all I'm going to say about it. But you're going to see a whole bunch of stuff in there, and it comes firing at you like a machine gun. This, that, and the other thing. So when you see it, you're going to recognize and finally give the gravity and importance to sleep that maybe you haven't before in the past. So sleep is really vital. Dial in your diet and ditch sugar, for heaven's sakes. We don't think clearly on sugar. Did you know there's a thing called inflammatory brains? You can have an inflammatory brain. And let me just tell you, ditch sugar in all forms. That includes the overwhelming nonsense about carbs. You know, people love to have that carb argument, but I'll tell you, if you never put another carb between your lips, you will not die. It's the only nutrient you can live without, period. You can't live without fat. You can't live without protein, right? You can't live without water and all of the rest of it. But carbohydrates are greatly overrated, and our bodies oftentimes, if you have a waist bigger than 35 inches, is letting you know, I've had enough. And I'm heading toward, if not now, insulin resistance. We don't want that. What we want is a body that operates. You don't need an inflammatory brain. Type 3 diabetes, Alzheimer's. You are inflaming your brain every time you overdose on carbohydrates of any form, whether the crappy ones or like if you sit down and ate a plate of, 4 plates of sweet potatoes. Nobody's going to do that, by the way. That's not the kind of carb addiction I'm talking about. And if you've seen the food addiction webinar, you know. Exercise, dopamine and serotonin help you to think clearly. All this is about is our inability to think clearly. Something's wrong. I feel numb. I'm avoiding. I'm not whatever. An inflamed brain is really what's at question here. And it happens. It's just now we have to clear it up. Exercise helps with the dopamine and the serotonin, and better than a prescription for an antidepressant, by the way. Read the research. It'll tell you. Nature walks, getting out in nature. Oh my gosh, tapping. They call it forest bathing now. We call it nature walks. Forest bathing, come on. Whatever. Earthing. You know what all this is? It's energy. It's tapping into the higher power who is God. The higher energy and vibrational flow. Who is God? Where do you think all this came from? The New Age movement thinks that they have all of this. Where do you think this all came from? This is God. If you don't believe me about all this kind of thing and think, oh, Leanne, you're getting a little woo-woo. No, I'm not. Go open up your Bible and go. You tell me what you think. Parting of the Red Sea. Do you think that was high vibe or low vibe? What do you think? It's all over the place. It is all over the place. Number 8, laughter's a reset. You need self-care. You need baths. You need all these things. And stop doing the same thing and shift and change up those things until you start to feel better. That simple. Number 9 is community and friendship. And I see a lot of that here. Lots of community, lots of friendship, lots of love passing to each other, which is beautiful. Number 10 is music. Boy, does music move us, doesn't it, Noreen? She knows. This is me. We played This Is Me at the start and This Is Me at the end. Because you know what? We are glorious is what the chorus just pops with. That absolute explosion of celebration in the song. We are glorious. You know why we play that song? Because when I play that song and they say we are glorious, I'm saying, yes, we are glorious. And that's why we don't want to live in this place where we're ever afraid, where we're ever scared, where we're just accepting the same garbage. We're scared to take a look at where we really are. If we start to recognize and see who we are, bruised, right? Isn't that what the song says, that we're bruised? But we're also celebrated at the same time. Because this is where we are, and this is who we are. And we can be, the truth about changing is that we can change. We really have to look at the symptoms and then start looking at the ways to fix it. We can do this. What do you think? You with me? Let's go through this week. I think it's going to be a fun journey. Thanks so much for showing up. I appreciate you. Peace be with you.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.